So this year I've been making a conscious effort to disconnect, and one of the biggest ways I've been doing this is reducing my time on social media. And until recently I hadn't used social media for 60 days completely. I'd completely fasted from it. My name's Keefe, and in this video I wanted to share with you my experiences from this time, and maybe it would be something that you would find valuable as well. Alright guys, so I got four main areas that I want to discuss with you about this time and this experience I had. Before I get into that though, I want to clarify something because some idiot is going to comment on this video and say, technically, you didn't stop using social media because you were putting up YouTube videos. And obviously I'm not talking about putting up my own YouTube videos. I'm talking about scrolling mindlessly, consuming content, living vicariously through others, all this stuff that we do on social media. I'm not talking about putting out a daily YouTube video. So if you were going to say that and think you were going to get brownie points for it, save your trouble. So with that said, let's get into the first one here, which is that you find that you become far more independent when you spend less time on social media. You become more of an individual person, that is. And this is because you're just not getting inundated by other people's thoughts and opinions on things. Obviously, during this time, I was still able to gather information on like the bigger things going on in the world, right? But like the day-to-day mundane stuff, usually negative stuff, was not filtering into my mind. And so like once you get off social media and you feel more like an individual, you see things differently, and you also realize life's honestly great. And like the internet will convince you it's not, but I'll be riding around realizing like, you know what, like my life's totally like great. I mean, a good example of this was like during the riots that were going around in America. They're still going on, but like during the riots when they were at their peak, it was like I was like really angry inside myself watching this happen around me, like in my country. But then I would disconnect and realize, like, you know what, like this is not happening in my reality, right? Like it might be happening over in New York or in I don't know where else, Minneapolis, but it's not happening in my reality. And so like I'm allowing something that's not even real to me in like a personal sense, it's not in my true experience, to try and dictate my reality and how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking about other people. And that was just stupid, and that's what social media does to you. So you find that you have more independent thoughts, you care less what other people think of what you're doing, because the only people you interact with when you're not talking to them on social media are the people that you spend time with in person, and those are people that you already like, and so they're going to be supportive of what you're doing anyways. Second one I've got is that social media is used oftentimes to escape ourselves. So when you get off social media, there's more peace in your life. You just feel more at peace. Like I said, we use social media a lot of times to escape ourselves. That's what we do with a lot of things: drugs, alcohol, just basically anything. A lot of stuff is used to escape having to deal with ourselves and our minds, because we want to shut our minds off because we've got a lot of baggage in there. But if you get rid of these escapes, because escaping is not actually a healthy way to deal with this, because the escapism leads to the anxieties, the depressions, the hopelessness, all those kinds of feelings. And so if you stop escaping yourself, deal with whatever it is you got to deal with, and just get comfortable being with you, then you just find a lot more peace in yourself. You're more happy with yourself. And so when I wasn't using these things to, first of all, compare myself to other people, I'm not comparing myself to what other people do as much, then I get that peace within myself. I don't feel like I'm falling behind. I'm not looking and comparing who I truly am versus the fake image someone put on the internet and thinking I'm falling behind. So there's more peace in that. But then just generally speaking, working through whatever issues you have, feeling comfortable in your own skin, being happy, just being with you, is something that comes along when you stop escaping yourself and are just more present with yourself. And like I said, I think social media is at least in the top three biggest things that people use to escape their real life. All right, the third one, guys, this one might be the biggest one, honestly, is that you can see social media for what it is. And what I mean by that is that it's not real, right? We get so caught up in these social media apps. We think they're real life. People invest so much energy into like an Instagram account, trying to look good on Instagram. And it's just for what, right? Like we're literally like living vicariously through these personas we create on the internet, and at the expense of our own real lives. Like we're more concerned about how our relationships look on the internet rather than how they actually are in person, and just faking it all the time. And it leads to this like cognitive dissonance issue you've got going on. You don't feel good with you. But more than anything, what I'm talking about here is just once you realize that social media isn't real, you can honestly like cancel out a lot of like people. Like people are so convinced that it's real that when you just disregard that assumption. Like, everyone's just assuming that just because everyone acts like it's real, it must be real. But like, if you just blatantly disregard that and say, well, maybe it's real for you, but it's not real for me, you have all this power over these people. Like, you can't get affected by what people say on Twitter if you acknowledge already that Twitter isn't real. Twitter's not real life. It's just an app, right? People getting their careers ended on Twitter because they go apologize to a mob on Twitter. Twitter's not real. And like, the ones who don't get cancel cultured, like in our culture these days, are the ones who disregard this and don't accept the assumption that whatever Twitter says goes. And it's the same with Instagram and all this stuff. Like, if you don't really care about Instagram, if you're getting put on blast on Instagram or something like that, it doesn't really affect you that much, because you're like, you can look at it and realize, all right, well, here's my present reality, like my physical real life, and everything's great in it. Instagram might be going haywire or whatever, but that's not real. That's just like something, right? Whereas these other people, they like, if you really are invested in like Instagram, again as an example, and people are going after you on Instagram and people are commenting nasty things at you, you're more prone to let that affect your physical reality because you're still convinced that this is somehow your real life. So once you get off the apps, like I said, you just figure out that it's not real. And with that, you just automatically win in any confrontation you get into on social media, because nobody can affect you because it's not real. It's on the internet. How many people are so comfortable to say nasty things on social media apps that they won't say to you in person? So just let it be. And when you get off the apps, you just figure that out. You're like, oh, wait, like, this literally is not real. It's totally separated from your true physical experience. And you just, it's like, it makes sense theoretically when I'm telling you this now, but until you actually like disconnect from it, you don't really get that like true feeling in you, like, of like, wow, like this actually is not me. This is separate and it's irrelevant, basically. Another good example of this that I just thought of, guys, is like how people were putting black squares on their Instagram page. Like, this was an example of people thinking that Instagram was real life. So like, they put up the black squares, and then a lot of people felt peer pressured to put up the black squares because they were convinced that Instagram was real life. So like, whatever I do on Instagram is going to determine my real life. So a lot of people felt peer pressured and put these black squares up. And then a lot of people put them up and they thought they were making a difference. Like, what the hell does a black square on an app have to do with changing criminal justice reform? Like, it's totally stupid. And like, if you think about it like that, you're like, oh yeah, that makes no sense. But everyone's so caught up in it, and like, oh, did you post a black square? Did you do this? Yada yada. Like it really has anything to do with you and your real experience. That's, again, like, people just thought social media was so real that they were afraid of the ramifications if they didn't put it up, or they were just so self-righteous and convinced that if I put this up, I'm making a difference, even though, like I said, it's an app. It doesn't affect anything in real life. All right, guys, and the fourth one I've got here is you break out of the tribalism. In order to understand what I mean by this, you got to understand how social media works. So social media, like any other tech company, is trying to get your attention, and that's how they make money, right? So like, even Amazon sends you recommended products based on what you purchased. Same thing with social media. If you click on one video on YouTube, it gives you a bunch of other videos. If you look at one thing on Instagram, your Explore page is suddenly full of that same thing. These companies, there's nothing malicious about it. They're just trying to make money, and they do that by keeping your attention, which means they keep giving you what you're interested in. What happens, though, is you get caught in your tribe, and you get more and more separated from the other people who see things differently. Like, you could have started with a very innocuous difference. You might have disagreed slightly on one issue, but within like 5 to 10 days of watching videos on that consistent content, or seeing posts or something like that on that consistent type of content, you both see the world completely different. You think the other person's your enemy, because that's just how the tribal nature of these social media apps work. And the funny thing is, social media was supposed to be this thing that gave us more ideas and more opportunity to engage and connect. But what really happened is we just got more reinforced information. Like, it's just easier to keep reinforcing your worldview because it helps you out, because you don't really want to challenge your beliefs, and it helps the company out because you keep using their application. By turning social media off, you get a quick break from this, and you're still going to have your beliefs, obviously, and you're going to have to do the hard work of challenging those beliefs if you really want to, but you just figure out really quickly, like, the other person who disagrees with you something isn't necessarily a racist or evil or stupid. You just find out that you've been living in different worldviews, and like, our perspective is just not broad enough to see that someone else is seeing things completely different because they're getting different facts and different information. Guys, if you're new to this channel, my name is Keefe. I made this channel to help you create your ideal life through self-mastery, and be sure to hit the subscribe button and bell icon so you don't miss tomorrow's video, and hit the like button if you got something out of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.